All right, guys. So Monster Hunter got a community update. This is for Monster Hunter Wilds, a pre-launch community update. I want to check out here. It's about almost an hour and a half here. So if need be, I'll just like edit it down a bit when I put it on YouTube and to make it a little bit shorter if there's anything that's not super important to include. But yeah, I want to check this out, see what they're talking about. Let's go. Excited. Let's go.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Monster Hunter Wilds pre-launch community update. My name's Jono, EME Community Manager on Monster Hunter.
Hey everybody, I'm Joe. I'm the Capcom USA Community Manager on Monster Hunter.
And welcome to our broadcast, which for the very first time will be bilingual in English and Japanese, which is a brand new concept for us. So we hope you enjoy it. And you'll probably not be surprised to find out why we're having it in English and Japanese, because as you can see, we have two very special guests with us. We have Monster Hunter Wilds director Yuya Tokuda, as well as Patrick from Capcom Europe, who will be translating for us.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it. I think we have a lot to cover today. So let's start with our first topic. Our first topic is performance. So
yeah,
the open beta test, which was actually running on an earlier version of the game that's different from the internal version that the team is working on. We actually mentioned that the final release will have improved performance over the open beta test. So Tokuda-san, could you walk us through how the team is improving performance with the full version?
はい、最初に製品版で目標にしているパフォーマンスについて教えてもらえると思いますので、
Yeah, because the PC version performance was trash, dude.
まず実物を見ていただくのが一番わかりやすいと思いますので、まだ最終バージョンではないんですけれども、プレイステーション5でフレームレート優先モードでのプレイ映像をお持ちしたので、ご覧ください。
Yeah, we've got some slides with some details coming up, but I think first of all, I really want you guys to just get your eyes on a gameplay video to understand where the performance is at. So I've prepared a video that's running on PlayStation 5 in prioritized performance mode. It's not the
I want to see it run on PC, not PS5, dude. Come on.
The OBT. So let's take a look at that
not
now.
PS5. Oh man, I already know it plays wonderful on PS5. I played on PS5 first with open beta. It was freaking great.
はい、このように、OBT の時よりも綺麗なグラフィックで、60フレーム近くでプレイできる状態になっています。
Yeah, PC's a bit wonky. Yeah.
Of how much better the game is looking already since the OBT. It's running at almost the target of 60 frames per second, so it's looking great, I think.
はい、改めまして目標としているスペックですけれども、PS5 の解像度優先モードでは、4K30fps で安定してプレイできることをターゲットにしています。
So as per the slide we have here, just to talk you through the target numbers that we have. On the PlayStation 5 in the prioritized graphics mode, we're running a rendered output of 4K with a targeted frame rate of 30 frames a second.
フレームレート優先モードではレンダリング解像度は異なりますが、60fps で、遊べるようにターゲットしています。
And for prioritized frame rate, that brings the rendering resolution down as you can see, but then the target frame rate gets to 60 frames a secend.
OBT では目標のフレームレートに出ていなかった上にですね、フレームレート優先モードでは描画の不具合がありまして、髪の毛とか、羽毛のような表示の時に、ジャギーのようなものが発生するようになってまして、ちょっと綺麗じゃない状態になっておりました。先ほどご覧いただきましたように製品版の方ではフレームレート含めて改善していますので、ご安心ください。
Okay.
So the target frame rate that we have here was not being achieved in the OBT build. To be honest, it was an earlier version that wasn't quite as optimized. And there were also some rendering issues with the graphics when using frame priority mode, the prioritized frame rate. A lot of players reported seeing jagged edges on elements such as hair and feathers, the more fine details. As you will have hopefully got an impression of in the video we just showed, this has been greatly improved in the full version, and the frame rate is also hitting close to that target of 60 frames a second.
はい、あとプレイステーション5 Pro エンハンスド対応については、製品版発売時の Day1 パッチにて、対応を予定しています。
So I mean that's all good and well they're improving the frame rates for console, but I want to know PC. I want to know about PC.
詳細については今後の情報をお待ちください。
Also, just one thing to confirm is that PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced support is incoming, and it'll be ready with the day one patch on release day of the title next year. That's going to enhance the graphics for PlayStation 5 Pro users, so please stay tuned.
I don't care about that. You PS5 Pro users, you have fun with that shit. You have fun with that.
はい、Xbox シリーズ X と、シリーズ S につきましても、PlayStation 5版と同様な、パフォーマンス向上に取り組んでいます。
Moving on then to Xbox, you can see here that on the Xbox Series X and Series S, we're aiming at similar improvements over the OBT compared to what I just described for the PlayStation 5 as per the slide.
Steam 版でもご利用の環境設定によって変動はありますけれども、パフォーマンスの向上について、同様に取り組んでおりまして、OBT と同じスペックの機材であっても着実にフレームレートなど、向上しています。
Steam is of course a bit more complicated. It varies greatly depending on your own personal rig, your hardware, and the settings you have
Dude,
set
come
up.
on,
But,
give us the
we are
PC
working on
specs.
improving the performance of that too.
Okay, they're working on
frame rate
PC.
and other performance you can expect from the same equipment you might have used in the OBT will be improved for the full version of the game.
All right, I hope
please wait a little
so.
longer to get a chance to experience that.
これは本当におとつい聞いた最新の情報なんですけれども、推奨スペックとしてご案内しているグラフィックボードについてももう少し下げられる可能性が出てきております。正確な情報が固まり次第公式サイトなどでアナウンスさせていただきます。
This is actually something that I've literally just confirmed with the team yesterday or the day before, so it's very hot off the press news, but we're looking at hopefully lowering the level of the minimum recommended graphics board specs to allow more players with that level of hardware to play the game. The final details are still being worked on, so I can't share more today, but again, stay tuned to official channels on
that's
our
good
website,
news. That sounds
we'll
promising,
get more
man.
Details about that out soon.
Yeah.
That is really, really cool. You know, I mean, Joe and I can both attest that following the OBT, performance was an important topic for the community across all platforms. So it's really, really cool to be able to share the performance and visual
Can Steam Deck handle it? Yeah, I don't know. They haven't said anything about that yet.
The game across the board. So
I don't know.
That's good as San. One little question though, because we did see some members of the community, particularly on PC, concerned whether or not they had a powerful enough hardware or rig to run the game on PC. Especially seeing, you know, out there's such a wide range of hardware amongst the gaming community. So is there anything the team are thinking of or looking at doing to help players on PC determine if their rig will run on Sunterwell?
Steam ユーザーはそれぞれのプレイヤーがさまざまな環境で遊んでいると思いますけれども、発売前に自分の環境で、期待できるパフォーマンスを確認したいユーザーがたくさんいると思うんですけど、何かしら対策を考えたりしますでしょうか。
はい、さまざまな改善とか最適化が進んでいる中でですね、その製品版の環境でご自身の機材がどのように機能するかというのは、発売前に知りたいというのは、非常によく、分かっております。現在そうした方に向けてベンチマークソフトをご用意できないか、検討しています。できるできないや時期など決定しましたらまたお知らせいたします。
Yeah, I totally understand the PC players on Steam really want to know before launch if their rig is going to be giving them the performance that they want. While we are, as I said, working to improve the performance greatly before launch, we're considering as well releasing a benchmark tool for Steam players, and that'll let you more directly check how your PC hardware is going to run the game. So.
Wish more devs would do this.
That's still in the works at the minute, and if that becomes finalized, again, we'll release further details on that in due course. So, stay tuned.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So we'll await any further details on a potential benchmark tool. And overall, those were some really great updates on performance. But let's go ahead and transition to some of the gameplay-specific adjustments to either weapon actions and the overall hunting experience. And I think both Jono and I know that one of the biggest topics and concerns from the community were changes to hit stop and the overall impact of weapons. And this was really something that we saw quite a bit of feedback on, looking for a little bit more punch to the different weapons. In our recent round of previews, we actually did confirm that there were some improvements made to this area. So Takuda-san, can you detail what these tweaks are?
はい、パフォーマンスに続けて武器の調整についてですけれども、多くのユーザーから、もう少しパンチが欲しい、手応えを感じたいっていうフィードバックが寄せられていると思うんですけど、これに対してチームの方で 予定している調整などについて教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、オープンベータテストでは、いわゆるヒットストップや、サウンドエフェクトが過去作に比べて弱いというご意見を
So
いた
just
だい
its
ており
attacks
ます。
feel more weighty and
ご覧について
impactful with a
OBT で
focus
は
on big
一
moves
部
and
対応が
finishers?
漏れていたものもあ
Nice.
ったんですけど、
Okay.
製品版では
That's when it comes to hit
多くの
stop
武器種
sound
類、特に
effects.
大技とか決め技を中
Mitigation
心
of
に
friendly fire?
攻
Oh
撃の手
yes,
応えを
please.
より感じて
So
いただ
friendly
けるよ
fire
う
had
な
already
調
been
整をしており
mitigated
ま
for
す。
most weapon types in
Yeah,
OBT?
this is,
Okay.
what people refer to as hit stop. It's something that we were aware of with the OBT build. There were certain things we'd already taken care of, actually, and certain things that hadn't yet been done. So when it comes to making those weapons feel more weighty and impactful in terms of hit stop and sound effects, we are planning to make further adjustments in the full version of the game in that area.
Good.
一つの例として、調整後の体験の新ため切りの動画をお持ちしましたのでご覧ください。
I've got a video here that we can show in a second, which shows you the true charged slash of the greatsword, and that's how it looks after these adjustments have been made to make these big moves and finishers feel more meaty. So let's show the video, please, and see how that looks.
Hey, let's go. $30 FPS though? 30 FPS, huh? But I get it though. They're showing off how the hitboxes are working now.
体験実は新ため切りダメージ量の方も、増やしてます。ダメージに限らずですけど、このヒットエフェクトだったりだとかヒットストップについてももろもろ調整を行っていますし、サウンドですね、音についても調整してますので、トータルでヒット感は、向上しています。
So that move that we just saw, the true charge slash, has also actually had its damage output increased. But even for moves where I haven't changed the damage output, I've heard you guys on things like hit stop, on sound effects, how the moves feel to actually use. So those kind of adjustments are being made, not just on the greatsword. I use it as an example here because it's kind of easy to understand, but across the board on all weapon types.
Heck yeah.
ヒットストップに関してはですね、モンスターハンターワールドをリリースした当初には、海外のユーザーを中心に、ヒットストップが強すぎるとか、重すぎるみたいなご意見をすごくいただいたんですけれども、今回モンスターハンターワイルズのオープンベータですと逆に弱いというご意見もたくさんいただきまして、モンスターハンターの持ち味である重みのあるアクションという感覚が世界中の方に受け入れられ始めているんだなということも感じまして、感慨深くもありました。
It was really interesting actually for me to receive this feedback on the beta. I'm thinking back to Monster Hunter World, which I also worked on, and back then there was a lot of player feedback, especially outside Japan, where players felt that the game was actually too weighty, that the animations were too slow, and that's completely the opposite of what we heard this time, where people were saying the Wilds OPT, everything felt a bit too light and floaty and weaker. So I'm taking that as a positive, where I feel like in the years between Monster Hunter World coming out and Monster Hunter Wilds OBT, players around the world have gotten used to that meaty, weighty hit stop action that is kind of one of the hallmarks of Monster Hunter. So knowing that they've accepted that and they wanted it back based on the OBT is actually something that I think is really interesting, and also it's really nice for me to hear.
Okay.
No, that's really, really cool. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing those meaty chops and big bonks come February. And obviously, you know, we've spoken about how weapon interactions with monsters have been adjusted, but we're also looking at friendly fire and how that works, right? I understand that this was actually something as well that the team were looking into and considering before the open beta test went live.
はい、フレンドリーファイアの機能について確かにオープンベータテスト
Wait another year putting only 8 gigs of VRAM on consumer grade GPU? Yeah.
こちらは OBT を受けてどのような調整を予定しているのでしょうか。
はい、ゲームズコーンや TGS の、私有ロムでは、ガラランスの流撃砲などによって、仲間が吹っ飛ばされる、いわゆるフレンドリーファイアがありましたけれども、OBT のタイミングでは多くの武器でそれらを緩和しました。
Yeah, this is something that, as you said, before even the OBT came out, we had our first playable globally at Gamescom earlier in the year. Then we had Tokyo Game Show. And the adjustments that we started to make for friendly fire were already present in those builds. So, for example, the
Really?
Wyvern Fire of the gun lance is something that we'd already toned down the effect even before the OBT started.
OBT の時点でもハンマーの勝ち上げなど一部フレンドリーファイアが残ってしまったものもあったんですけど、それらも製品版の方では、修正予定となります。
That said, as a lot of players will have noticed in the OBT, there were some friendly fire things that we hadn't handled yet. So upswing attacks on the hammer in particular, I think were causing a lot of people to be thrown around the place. And that's something that we're looking to get into a better place and fix it up for the final game.
Please do.
またサンブレイクの方で実装されました、
Because I ain't trying to be playing people and I can't do my combos because friendly fire.
実装予定です。
And just to mention as well, something that wouldn't have applied during the OBT, but the shockproof jewel, which you might remember from recently Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, is going to be in the full game, and that will further help you nullify those damage reactions.
Nice, okay.
統制後のハンマーの勝ち上げの動画も持ってきましたので、ご覧ください。
I've got another video with me today, so if we can please show that, then you should get an idea of how the hammer upswing looks after these adjustments have been made. So let's take a look.
Let's go. All right. So still friendly fire, but maybe not as bad. It's still there, but not as
Exile is
bad.
really great at kind of showing side by side those the changes that have been made there. So, I think with friendly fire, this is one of those changes where there's a lot of different players that a lot of different types of players that it may impact. So, Takura-san, can you talk a little bit more about the intention behind making this change?
フレンドリーファイアですとプレイヤーの意見も分かれる仕様だと思うんですけど、徳田さんの今回変更を入れた意図についてもう少し詳しく教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、フレンドリーファイヤーの軽減は残念なに思っている方もいるトピックだと、こちらも認識しています。今回ですね、ガンランスの流撃砲の範囲を結構思い切って広げたんですけど、この範囲で、ぶっ飛ばしを残してしまうと、マルチプレイですごく大きな、支障になってしまいます。
Yeah, I know what you mean because friendly fire is one of those features I think some players enjoy, the bit of the chaos, and they might find it disappointing to hear that it's being reduced, but it's all part of my overall balancing sort of approach. So to take the Gunlance Wyvern Fire as an example, the range of that attack has actually been greatly expanded with Monster Hunter Wilds, and that meant that just the sheer range at which friendly fire could occur was kind of becoming something of a hindrance to having an effective multiplayer hunt.
こういう行動はルールを理解しているプレイヤー同士なら楽しく感じていただける要素にもなり得るんですけれども、クロスプレイだったり、救難信号によって、幅広いユーザーの方がマルチプレイする機会というのがすごく増えている中で、初心者のユーザーの方がルールがわからないままぶっ飛ばしてしまったりだとか、特にそういう要素があることによってマルチプレイを避けてしまうようなことを、避けたいと考えて、今回こうした実装をしております。
I think that kind of scrappy, chaotic feel that you get from friendly fire is something that players who understand it and they know how to avoid it or when it's going to happen, those people can have an understanding with each other and enjoy that. But we've now got crossplay and we've got a wider range than ever of experience levels of hunters.
You got people that are not going to like it or accept
it. And I wanted to avoid the scenario where this level of, extra range attacks causing friendly fire would mean that maybe less experienced players would end up knocking everyone around beyond the point where it's still fun.
Right,
or
exactly.
They might get knocked around and not understand why it's happening and not find that enjoyable, and then they'd end up avoiding going online and playing multiplayer with other players. So it's really part of my intention to make sure that everyone can enjoy multiplayer together, and that meant making the decision on how to adjust friendly fire.
Good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's making it more approachable for new players and less frustrating for experienced players who are playing alongside these new players joining the community. And kind of moving on from that as well, something that actually Joe and I encountered ourselves and what we saw within the community and content creators was that during the open beta test, they felt that monsters move locations way more often than they expected. Was this intentional?
ジョノとジョーもご自身で
No, I
遊んだ
hear
時
you.
に気づいた
I hear you.
仕様なんですけれども、モンスターが割と頻繁にエリア移
Yeah,
動す
especially
る
on high
ようになってたと思うん
mastering.
で
Yeah,
すけど、コミュニティのフィードバックもたくさんある仕様だったと思いますので、こちらについてはどれだけ移動的なものだったでしょ
So
うか。
just seeing sort of monsters between
はい、
different areas.
OBT ではですね、そのプログラム的な
At similar
不具合
frequency to
とですね
Monster
調整不
World.
足
Okay.
の両方が
Players
重なり
also be
ま
able
し
to
て、
use
モンスターのエリア移
pop-up
動が、
camps. Yeah, fast travel
頻
full
繁に
version.
発生
Nice.
していました。
Yeah, the actual truth is that there was a bit of a bug or glitch in the open beta test build, which meant that monsters were moving between areas more frequently than we intended. So the behavior you guys noticed in the open beta test build isn't something that was finally fully adjusted to where we wanted it to be.
Really?
製品版では、モンスターハンターワールドに近いような移動頻度になるように調整を入れています。
So yeah, we've worked on that since the open beta test build was created, and the final version should be more close in feeling to Monster Hunter World in terms of how often you feel the monsters are moving around.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah. So
Good.
even though that the amount of frequency that a monster might move locations has been toned down a little bit, sometimes a monster moving locations significantly it's kind of like a way of expressing its personality. So are there still some situations where a monster might move significantly?
それでも製品版ではエリア間の移動をする場合がある。
You seen that too and it was weird? Yeah.
もちろん
They're addressing
モン
it,
スタ
which is
ーが
good.
フィールドの中でどんどんこう移動していって、それを追い詰めていってハンティングするというのはモンスターハンターの、醍醐味の一つでもありますので、モンスターは移動していきます。
Yeah, that's right. It's one of the sort of key features of Monster Hunter is that you're chasing these monsters around these vast environments. So it's not like they're never going to move anywhere and you're just going to be stuck in one place to hunt them. You're still going to have that feeling of the chase where they move between different parts of the field as the hunt progresses.
Mm-hmm.
またですね、特に生態系の上位に属するようなモンスター、すごく強いモンスターはですね、ベースキャンプから離れた場所、フィールドの奥深くに巣を構えていることが多くあります。今回はフィールドが、広大になっているということもありまして、いろんな緩和処理は入れてるんですけれども、それでも瀕死移動などの際に、大きく移動するということがあります。
Also, the maps are much bigger in this game than any previous Monster Hunter, and
Oh,
that means
yeah.
there's more turf to cover. And when it comes to things like the monsters who are at the top of the food chain in a particular map, their nests or their home turf within the map can be pretty deep into the area, and it can be some distance to cover. So if you get them to a weakened state and they're doing the thing where they limp back to their nest to try and recover, that's still going to be an occasion where you're going to have some ground to cover in order to chase them and find them again.
Of course.
そうした場合はですね、その狩りたいモンスターの生息域だったり移動ルートに合わせた場所に簡易キャンプを立てて、ファストトラベルなどを使って先回りするような、使い方というのもすごく有効になります。
I would recommend when that happens in the full game that you can actually use the pop-up camp feature to its fullest. So if you're aware of where a particular monster's nest is going to be in the map, and if it's quite a distance from other areas, you can go ahead and sort of do a recce and scout it out and put a pop-up camp there in advance, so that when that monster starts to get weakened and try to return to its nest, you can fast travel to the pop-up camp and get there quickly.
So a little bit of planning, a little bit of prep, and it will pay off in the hunt, which is always handy. And
Nice.
Moving on, we've already covered a lot of juicy changes. We've been getting stuck straight in. So let's kind of move over to adjustments to something that's really important and helps really define a hunter's identity in game, and that we're all very passionate about: our weapons.
Yes.
So many people are really interested in this. Takuda-san, in our recent previews, the team showed off some changes to the insect glaive. But that's not the only weapon. Multiple weapons have received adjustments, but a few in particular, like the aforementioned insect glaive, have received the most attention, right?
Oh.
武器の調整についてですけれども、プレ
Did
ビュ
they
ーのインタビュ
buff the
ー
hell
な
out
ど
of
で
insect glaive?
徳田さんは特に総中根などの武器がかなり OBT に比べて大きく調整が入っているというふうにコメントをいただいていると思うんですけど、こちらについてもう少し詳細に教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、特に総中根、ランス、スラッシュアックス、片手剣については製品版とかなり違いを感じられるような、武器種になっています。それらを中心に調整内容をご紹介できればと思います。
Yeah, the insect glaive is one of several weapons, such as the lance, the switch axe, and the sword and shield, which I think players will, if you play the OBT version and then you play the full game, you're going to notice maybe the biggest differences and feel like we've made the most adjustments to those weapons in particular, although we have made adjustments to all the weapons. So I'd like to take the chance to go through a few of those details with you.
はい、装置庫については、まずは動画を見ていただければと思います。
So if we can run the video we've prepared of the insect glaive, let's take a look at that first.
Let's go. Hey! They brought that back? Dude, that wasn't in the beta. That whole, like, just popping off the ground like that consistently. I don't think that was in the beta. Oh, shit. Whoa! I don't remember that either. Hold up.
はい、このようにまず武闘跳
Players
躍
can
が、
combo the very
追
aerial
加されてお
attacks,
ります。
actions after vaulting,
That's right.
right?
Vaulting dance is back.
Okay.
装置庫については、
Nice.
ゲー
Vaulting
ム
dance
スコア
is
や
back.
TBS の使用の
Okay.
段階で、特にこ
Aerial
の
attack power
装置
increases
庫
by 2 levels
使い
each
の
time
方
you
々
vault.
から、
Sweet.
アイデン
And
ティ
offset
ティ
effect
と
at the
も言える
beginning
ような、
of the sending
武
slash.
闘跳
Nice.
躍をないことについて
Oh
ですね、
man,
非常に
insect
残念があ
glaive
る
is
声というのをたく
definitely
さんいただい
back
てま
where
した
it
の
should
で、
be.
OBT では間に合わなかったんですけれども、
Shit,
製品
I
版の
might
方で
insect
は、
glaive main
武
again.
闘跳躍追加しております。
So this is something I was actually aware of even before the feedback from the open beta test back at our Gamescom and Tokyo Game Show exhibitions of gameplay. We had our, insect glaive users, our bug rod mains, complaining that the vaulting dance was missing, and it's one of the iconic moves of that particular weapon. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to confirm that vaulting dance makes its return in the full version of Monster Hunter Wilds.
Thank
また
you.
ですね、吸収切りの出始めのところに、相殺効果がついていたりだとか、エキスを取った時の、効果などが OBT から、追加で対応を行っていまして、これらによって、立ち回りの幅がすごく広がっています。
As you can see on the slide, we've got a few other adjustments being made. One of them is that the descending slash now has an offset effect added at the beginning of that move. And we also have additional effects happening with the different extracts that you have during the course of the action. So those are going to improve the feel of the insect glaive too.
はい。です。
Okay.
その吸収切りのための部分の、操作っていうのが、押しづらいというご意見も、すごく多くいただいておりました。
One thing I wanted to cover additionally was that some players said that the controls for charging up the descending thrust were a little bit too difficult, or they felt tricky to operate in the heat of the hunt.
僕自身も押しづらいなと感じる部分もありましたので、何かできないか検討や相談っていうのを進めていたんですけれども、慣れてくるとですね、この貯めることによる遊びの広がりっていうのも確かにあるなというふうにも感じていることから、あとそれを回収するコストとももろもろ天秤にかけていった結果、今回はその試操作に関しては残すことに、しました。
I took that feedback on board, and I tried it out in the game myself. And I did somewhat agree that it could be tricky to pull that off right in the middle of things, but we always have to weigh up when we're going to make these kind of modifications to a weapon, what the implications are for its playstyle as a whole. We have to balance the idea of changing that with, how it might play the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
So after many discussions with the team, I actually decided to keep this one the way it is. I think that it is one of the trickier things to pull off, but it's sort of a bit of a rewarding bit of depth to the gameplay of the insect glaive. If you can get used to that and learn when to use the charge, you can really deepen your play style. So that's something that we're not adjusting this time, although we did hear your voices on that.
ですね、メディアプレビューツアーに、来られた、操虫根使いのライターの方はですね、触っていただいて、最高の操虫根になってるじゃないかとすごく喜んで、くれましたので、ぜひ製品版の方、お待ちいただければと思います。
Yeah, there was actually one journalist who was in Osaka for our preview last month, and they're an insect glaive main user, and they said that this is the best insect glaive ever in Monster Hunter history.
Oh,
so
wow.
You can take that on board and look forward to the full version of the weapon in the final version of the game.
Yeah, amazing. It's so great seeing Vaulting Dance back. I know that it's been very, very highly requested from the community. And I think there's a lot of people out there, including myself and members of the community, who doubted that it was something that could even be added back into the game. So it's so great to see it back and to see it in action. So moving on from the Insight Glaive, I know there's other weapons we want to touch on. We mentioned in the previews that the Lance would be seeing some significant changes. So can you take us through those?
先にプレビューの段階で確かにランスも大きく
Lance getting buffed. I don't play gun Lance or Lance at all in these games.
徳田さんがコメントしてたと思うんですけど、その詳細について教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい。ランスは、多様なガードと、細やかな移動行動を駆使していて、過去シリーズよりもモンスターに張り付いていける選択肢を増やしたかったんですけれども、逆にそのモンスターの行動を見て待つ選択肢っていうのがなくなった結果、かえって行動の選択肢が狭まって、同じ行動を繰り返してしまうような、ちょっと単調なプレイにつながってしまう部分っていうのがありました。
When I'm done with this, Church.
Yeah, the Lance was something where the effects of the adjustments we made were somewhat on the unintentional side. So I wanted to add a variety of different options for guarding and more fine footwork movement options. And the idea was to increase the tool set of things the players had available when they're using the Lance. But I think that the unintentional effect of that was that players weren't able to do the classic Lance move of being able to wait it out and see what the monster is going to do next and then respond to that in kind. And I think that we ultimately ended up, unfortunately, narrowing the options available, and some players even went so far as to say that the Lance action felt monotonous because ultimately with the tools available, they still ended up repeating the same actions over and over again.
大きな変更点としましては、過去作のカウンター好きを、ガード中のためカウンターとして、復活させました。
So in response to that, one thing that I've done is take the counter thrust move, which was a move that was available in past games with the Lance, and sort of resurrected that in a new form as what we're now calling the charge counter, and that's something that you can use while guarding as well.
これによってカウンターで待つ、選択肢を作りつつ、さらに大きなモンスターの攻撃に対しては、ガードからパワーガードの方に派生していって、受けた攻撃によってため段階が変わる、新アクションっていうのも、足していってますので、そうしたものも含めた反撃の選択肢というのを取れるように、しています。
So the addition of this move, as well as the other adjustments that we've made, some of which you can see here, which includes a new move that can be chained into from both Perfect Guard and Power Guard.
My apologies, Chad, I've been multitasking.
Will appreciate the ability to read the monster's movements, and you can choose your counter attack style, and you can even do a Power Guard that will now charge even more quickly or to higher levels if you successfully defend against more powerful monster attacks. So that sort of, wait, read, and counter style of the Lance, I think is going to be getting much better than you might have experienced in the open beta.
Sweet. Okay.
その他混乱だったり暴発が起こりやすいような派生をなくしたりだとか、連携中に派生するガードダッシュのキャンセルのタイミングを早くするなど、過去作でできたことっていうのは、なるべくフォローしながらやれることの幅っていうのを広げる調整をしています。僕はもちろんランス界の藤岡さんも、結構、じっくり触っていましてかなり感触良くなってきています。
There's also another variety of adjustments that we've made to the Lance in conjunction with Mr. Fujioka, the executive director and art director, who, as you guys know, is a Lance main, so he takes the Lance very seriously. And I worked together with him on these. So I wanted to expand the range of what you can do based on past titles. That has included actually removing some moves that you tended to chain into only on accident, and it would kind of cause confusion and mess up your combos. So I've sort of refined the moveset a little bit in those ways, while at the same time speeding up the cancellation timing of guard dashes that are chained into during combos. So I think that these changes, if you trust me and Mr. Fujioka, are going to make the lads feel better than ever.
はい、動画の方もお持ちしたので、ご覧ください。
I've got a video for this too, so if we can run that, then you can see what I'm talking about.
Let's check it out. Nice, okay. This is definitely gonna make Lance users happy.
And there we have it, Lance getting straight to the point, as always. So hopefully our Lance mains out there, that has put a smile on your face. And for those of you that have never tried the weapon before, hopefully that's, sparked a bit of interest for you to go check it out come February. But now to
Not
move on
really.
from the lance, let's talk about the Switch Axe, which apparently has been made much stronger than it was in the
Now
open
here
beta
we
test.
go. This is one of my favorite weapons. Switch axe, baby.
次にランツから移してスラッシュアクス
I
の
love
OBT と
insect blade, switch axe, hammer,
聞いてるんですけど
great sword,
詳細お
dual
願いしま
blades.
す
It's like my 5 right there.
はい、スラッシュアックに関しては、
Versus made so that switching to sword mode after building the axe mode, gauge shields were satisfying. Nice. Parameter improvements made to various moves, including full release slash. Knockback is now negated when using full release slash.
剣モードでの攻撃を、
Okay.
ゲージ消費に見合ったような威力とか手応えに調整を行っています。
Yeah, so with the switch axe, of course, the basic loop of charging up the axe mode and then releasing in the sword mode is the same. That's kind of what people expect from the weapon. But
Right.
I understand from feedback that some players thought it was too difficult to get the axe mode charged up. And that was something that I wanted to alleviate. So that difficulty has been adjusted. At the same time, the sword mode has been adjusted to be this feeling more powerful and more responsive to match that gauge consumption.
特にフルリリーススラッシュは、手応えも威力も、最終派生型に見合った性能に、向上させています。
One move in particular that should be feeling a lot better now is the full release slash. It's been improved both in terms of its power output and its feeling, and it just feels like a much more appropriate finisher move in terms of how great it feels to pull off.
Nice.
またカウンター切りの使い勝手を上げたりだとか、集中弱点攻撃の後付けを短くするなど、使いづらかったコードを少しずつ調整していって、全体的なそういうさというのを向上させています。
There were also some moves that the feedback from the player base was that they were a little bit too difficult to use. So using the counter rising slash in sword mode is something that's been made more usable. And I've also looked to shorten the animation lock period after using a focus strike with this weapon. So hopefully those things make it feel more usable.
Heck yeah. Heck
こ
yeah.
ちらも動画をご覧ください。
I've got a video for this one too, so let's take a look.
Let's see. Switch axe, baby. Well, not probably showing getting knocked back is not great. Oh, man. Oh, dude. Okay, that's sick. What?
Yeah, the changes to Switch Axe.
What did I
are looking
just
really
see
great.
right
As
there? What
somebody
did I just
who really
watch?
likes the new moveset in Monster Hunter Wilds. These tweaks just take it to the next level. So I'm really excited about that. And maybe I'll
That
switch
is so
to the Switch Axe.
cool,
Sorry.
man.
Well, next up we've got Sword and Shield. Jono, I know this is very near and dear to your heart as your main. Tokuda-san, can you
Sword
take
and
us
Shield's
through
good
all of
too.
the tweaks here?
はい、次にご存知のようにジョノが
Sword and
メインに使っている
shield
武
and
器でも
long
ある
sword are like my other two
片手
weapons I
剣
like to
ですけ
use
ど、
sometimes.
こ
So
ち
it's
らの
like
調
I
整
actually
に
like
つい
up
て
to
はいか
7
がでしょう
weapons.
か。
So I like about half the
ま
weapons
ず
in the
です
game.
ね、過去作とちょっとボタンは違うんですけれども、ガード中に切り上げですね。
Right slash can now be
アクシ
used
ョン
while
を
guarding.
復活させま
Nice.
した。
Perimeter improvements to various attacks, especially no
Yeah,
attacks
so
and
for the
perfect
sword and
rush.
shield,
Okay.
one thing we heard your voice very clearly on was that the loss of the ability to use rising slash while guarding was being majorly felt. So that's back, and now you can now perform that move
Nice.
while guarding again.
Nice.
また通常攻撃だったり、
Improves responsiveness of
ジャストラッシ
mobile
ュといった
chop and
各種攻
slide
撃の
slash
威力
combo
を
as well as guard
上
slash
げ
and
て
perfect
い
rush.
ったりだ
Okay.
とか、
Evade vectors of
各種行動
backstep
のレ
and
スポン
slide
ス
and
の方
sweep.
も向
Good,
上させ
good.
て、さらにバックステップと滑り込み切りの回避性能を強化するなど、全体的なこの威力とレスポンス手触りを向上をさせています。
And there's also various improvements, as you can see on the next couple of points here, being made to the weapon's sort of feel and also attack output. So normal attacks and the perfect rush have had their parameters improved. The responsiveness of your sort of more bread and butter mobile combos like the chop and slide slash combo have been improved, and same goes for guard slash and perfect rush. And then finally the backstep and the sliding swipe have had their effectiveness when it comes to evasion improved as well. So lots of changes all across the board for Sword and Shield.
Okay.
こちらも動画をご覧ください。
Yep, you guessed it, another video for this weapon, so let's run it and see how it looks.
Heck yeah. Let's see. Oh, man. Looking good. Looking good. Wow. Ooh, that's looking sweet there. Nice. Nice. Okay, that's sick. Oh, did he uppercut with the shield? Yo. Okay, that's looking really good.
Sword and Shield enjoyers, we are truly eating good in Wilds. Those changes look delicious.
Oh yeah.
What can I say? And for those that haven't tried Sword and Shield yet, here's a really good excuse to give it a go. But enough of me gushing about the Sword and Shield, because I could do that for the next hour. You know, there are other weapons too that have had some adjustments, maybe not as extensive as the 4 we've shown so far, but many have received tweaks. So, Tokuda-san, could you please take us through these at a broader level?
こちらの4つの武器ほど、大規模な変更ではないかもしれないんですけれども、全体的な武器の調整について教えてもらえますでしょうか。
はい、先ほどの
Let's see bow. So rebalancing the bow with increased attack power and responsive moves such as normal attacks and arc shots, while toning down the power of tracer shots. Okay. When targeting a monster with focus strike, multiple wounds are now locked onto one by one with a brief delay in between, rather than all at once. Okay. General wide arranging adjustments to skills, element values, balance for full game content.
General wide-ranging adjustments.
Nice.
To everything from their skills, their elemental values. I don't want there to be unintentional weapon tiering happening. I want to balance the weapon lineup so that everything has a valid place and everything is a viable choice, not just for playing the full game when it comes out.
And they're adjusting the hit detection, low damage output as well compared to past MH titles. Okay.
I know that these balance adjustments need to stand up for many hours of gameplay from you guys, and that's the intention with this overall balancing approach I have.
Yeah.
基本的には、各武器種が持つコンセプトとか触り心地が実現できているかっていうのを重要視した調整を行っていまして、強いものを下げるというよりはどちらかというと低いものを上げていきながら、武器種間の格差もできるだけなくしていくような、方向性で、調整しています。
And my general concept is that I want each weapon to feel true to its own unique concept, because each of them has a place in the lineup of 14 weapons.
Right.
In order to do that, I don't want to lower the high values to make everything meet in the middle. I actually want to raise up the lower values to make the weapons that were feeling less powerful feel more viable and going toe-to-toe with the other weapons in the lineup.
Makes
so that's
sense.
kind of my approach.
はい、その、主だった例として弓を挙げますけれども、弓はシルベの矢と、刺してそこに対して矢が飛んでいく、機能なんですけど、それと集中弱点攻撃の方にダメージのソースが、かなり偏っていたんですけれども、その部分も、通常攻撃だったりだとか局射のようなものの威力を上げつつ、さらにそれらの行動のつながりだったりレスポンスとかを向上させて、その他の行動でもしっかりダメージを取れるような、調整を行っています。
As on the slide here, the bow is a good example of this kind of general adjustment. I think that in the version that you guys will have played in the beta, the damage output was getting pretty biased towards using the tracer shots combined with the focus.
I didn't mess with bow
attacks.
personally. I'm not like a ranged combat user.
This is something that I wanted to adjust.
Hunter,
So
like
again, as I said,
melee.
rather than bringing those down,
I didn't even know about this.
The normal shots and the arc shot power, make those attacks more viable, and at the same time, general responsiveness has been improved across the board for the bow, including transitions and chaining between different attacks. So that makes it feel like a more cohesive, true to the bow concept type weapon.
Okay.
また集中弱点攻撃で、複数の傷だったりシルベの矢をまとめてロックオンして破壊することができたんですけども、傷については一つ一つロックオンする形に変更を行っています。
One more thing to mention is that as of the beta, the focus strike targeting capability was locking onto multiple wounds more or less simultaneously at the same time.
Really?
And I've rebalanced this now so that whenever you try to lock on to multiple wounds, they'll lock on one at a time with a brief delay in between each one. So that's another balance adjustment that's been made here.
Okay.
はい、夢についても動画を用意しましたので、ご覧くだ
Because
さ
we
い。
read over that a bit ago.
And you can see that and more in this video. Let's run it.
And I got a video show. Okay, so before it's locking all at once, not just one at a time. Let's see if the show's a lock on. You're a range guy, but mostly not mess with a lot of bow compared to bow guns. Gotcha. Oh, I see. Okay, I see what they're talking about now. Damn, that's wow. Okay, that's actually
こ
wow.
のようにですね、単なる下方修正にならないように、武器の魅力だったりユーザーの選択肢の幅が広がるよう
Shit, you might get me
に
into
ことを意識し
bow
な
now.
がら、すべての武
I
器の
might
調
just
整を行
try
ってい
bow
ます。
out. I'm not a big range combat, but man,
Yeah,
that
hopefully when you watch
was
that,
kinda
you get
cool.
a sense of what I meant, which was I don't want to just bring the powerful
And
aspect of
combos can be
weapons or the
triggered,
more
stronger
powerful
notice, yeah.
weapons down to the same
Balance is
level. I
certainly a
want to make
thing, yeah.
adjustments to each weapon to make
this might end up being the
every
biggest
single
Monster
weapon
Hunter
feel like a
game
viable
ever,
choice
or at least
in
bigger than
the
World.
lineup
So I
of
might
weapons in
honestly
Monster
have
Hunter, and the
to
players have lots to choose
try
from,
out
and everything
more
has its
weapons
place.
that I'm not normally used to playing, just
Yeah, I
like
really
for build
love that
videos and
philosophy
tips and stuff like
behind
that.
all the balancing changes and the improvements. And I know one weapon that I think we would be remiss if we didn't bring up, and a lot of people are really passionate about, is the hunting horn. Could you talk about some of the changes that the hunting horn is receiving?
狩猟笛は特に多くのユーザーからフィードバックがあった武器だと思うんですけど、こちらの最終的な仕様変更などはいかがでしょうか？
そうですね、狩猟笛の基本的な、メカニクスというか、そういうものについては、ユーザーさんも僕も含めて、結構気に入って、います。なんですけれども、サブ武器としての性能というのがちょっと、強すぎる面がありましたので、そのあたりは手を加えようと思っています。
Hunting horn is a weapon that I myself really enjoy playing, and I think we've heard from lots of players that they find it really fun.
Yeah.
It's a very viable main weapon. So actually the adjustments that I want to make for Monster Hunter Wilds based on the beta were about how it felt a bit too strong as a sub-weapon.
OBT ではですね、攻撃力アップ、小の戦率効果までしかなかったので、そこまで問題にならなかったんですけれども、製品版の方では攻撃力アップ大の戦率効果があったりだとか、あとそれらの、効果の時間を長くするスキルなどもありましたので、サブ武器としてかなりちょっと強い面が、ありました。
It wasn't too bad in the OBT because being a limited slice of the gameplay, the melodies that were available for the hunting horn only actually went up to attack up S. But when you take that into the full game and you're going all the way up to attack up L, it just meant that the melody effects were too overpowered, and it just became too much of an obvious meta choice to have the hunting horn as a backup weapon because of how powerful the parameters were whenever you were buffing not just yourself but your whole party.
Right.
でですね、自分強化の戦術
Nice, that's
効
fair.
果の
Makes
パラメー
sense.
タ
I
ーという
mean,
のを速度のアップも含めて
they're always going to keep 14 weapons, but it's how they adjust them, balance them, add new movesets to them, things like that's going to like really be defining
狩
for
猟
them.
笛から他の武器種に変更したときにその、効果時間延長のスキルの効果がなくなるなどの調整を行っていって、サポート武器としての価値は残しつつもバランスを整えるような形にしています。
So yeah, with a view to rebalancing that, what I've actually done is the melody effects when you strengthen yourself, when you buff yourself, have actually been increased, been made more powerful. But conversely, the effect on others has been decreased to rebalance its focus. The other thing that has changed is that when you change back from the hunting horn to the other weapon that you have with you, that's the amount of time that the melody effect was being applied for an extended amount of time. That skill has been adjusted so that when you change back to your other weapon, it's not going to hang around for as long whenever you've got the buff applied to other players. So I think that those balances still make it a valuable choice as a support weapon, but it just makes it less OP to use the community
Less
phrase.
OP. Got it.
Yeah, hopefully that's music to the ears of our duders out there, you know, putting respect on the weapon for those that main it and are proud of the tunes they bring to the hunt. And kind of moving on from that a little bit and moving away from weapons. Well, actually, I say that we're moving further into weapons here. We've got some juicy details to go into. Earlier on in the stream, you mentioned to Guda-san in the final version that balance will be adjusted to take into the account the existence of skills that were not included in the open beta test.
Ooh, really?
That does mean that in Monster Hunter Wilds, the skill building system has changed a lot from what we know, right?
先ほどOBT に入ってなかったような
New
スキルの
skills
存
add
在
into the
など
full
も
game
考
that
慮
weren't
し
in the
て
beta?
製品版
Yo,
の
I'm
全
interested.
コンテンツを通してバランスを、検討されているとのことでしたが、確かにワイルズでスキルの仕組み自体を大きく変わっていると思うんですけど、そちらについてちょっと詳細に説明してもらえますでしょうか。
はい、OBT を受けた、調整内容とちょっと話が、変わりますけれども、インタビューなど以外ではちょっとこれまできちんと説明できていなかった部分でもありますので、ご紹介させていただきます。
Yeah, this is something that isn't strict.
Well, hi, Mel. Hi. I had to pause the video because I saw the raid incoming. Welcome in. Hi, Terry. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. How are you? I hope you had a good stream. Happy Thursday. And for those that don't know me, I'm Mike here. I'm a full-time content creator here on YouTube and Twitch. Well, Twitch and YouTube, whichever you want to look at it. We're checking out a Monster Hunter Wilds community update video. And a lot of good stuff here. A lot of good stuff. We don't have too much left. Roughly 20 minutes or so. Let's see. Funny Faces while guarding. I'm trying to think multiplayer. Chat sticker limits. I'm probably not going to worry about that. HUD changes. Another open beta test. Sport Hunters. Okay, close remarks. All right. Funny Faces while guarding. I think I might skip that part. But hello, Mel. Hope you're good. Understand about push and care, get some food in if you need it, all that good stuff. Thank you. Welcome in, everybody.
Speaking, a OBT feedback
response. Let me go back a bit.
インタビューなど以外ではちょっとこれまできちんと説明できていなかった部分でもありますので、ご紹介させていただきます。
Yeah, this is something that isn't strictly speaking a OBT feedback response. But it's something that I think I've mentioned a few times in interviews that have gone out with the previews, but I want to take the chance.
This is cool as far as how looking at this.
Clear exactly what the implications of this new system are. So let's take a look at an example with this screenshot.
Right.
今まではその防具のパーツに装備のスキルが、ついていましたけれども、特定の武器種にしか効果がないようなタイプのスキルが入っていると、その防具に合う、武器種を選ぶしかなくなってしまったりだとか、切り合わせがしにくくなってしまうみたいなことが、発生している部分がありました。
So on previous titles, the place where you put equipment skills has always been the armor rather than the weapon, right? So that meant if you needed to equip skills that were sort of specific to a certain weapon or category of weapons, there was sort of an inevitability about certain skills and certain armor gear being the kind of only viable choice whenever you were going to go out with that particular weapon equipped, and that kind of limited, I think, the players' freedom to choose what exactly it was they wanted to wear.
今作ではメイン武器とサブ武器を切り替えられるようになっていますので、これまでの仕組み、スキルの仕組みですと武器を切り替えた時に、せっかくのスキルビルドが無駄になってしまう場面が、出てきます。なので、今作では例えば攻撃とかガード性能のような、武器に紐づくようなスキルは武器側に、つく形にして、例えば早食いのような、補助的なスキルについては防具側につけるような形に、変更しております。
The other implication of the fact that in Monster Hunter Wilds you can bring a main weapon and a sub-weapon was that your carefully chosen skill build on your armor would be completely wasted and be for naught. Whenever you change weapon, suddenly all of those skills that you'd equipped on the armor might not be relevant depending on what the second weapon was. So the system now has changed so that skills that are mostly tied to weapon functions such as attack boost and guard are now attached to the weapons themselves directly. And then other more supplementary skills such as speed eating are still attached to armor. And by separating out where the
that
skills
makes
go,
sense. That makes a lot of sense to do that now.
Make a lot more sense even as you change weapons throughout the hunt.
I like that.
So this is a pretty significant change to how players are going to be able to build their sets, and hopefully it'll result in lots of variety in terms of the different weapons people use and different armor sets. But one question I had is, well, what happens when weapons are upgraded? Do these skills disappear, or what happens with them?
このシステムになって、例えば武器を強化して派生で新しい武器にしたときに、自分その入ってたスキルがなくなったりすることはあるのでしょうか？
はい、 ここちょっと分かりにくいところなのですごくいい質問なんですけども、同じ武器派生の強化でスキルが消えることということは、ありません。
Yeah, that's a great question, and maybe a concern people might have had if it wasn't super clear how the system works. So it's a good chance to be very clear about it. Skills will never disappear from a weapon whenever you upgrade it within the same weapon tree.
Really? Skills never disappear. Okay, good, good.
ホープブレード2で、投資高速化のスキルが、ついているかと思います。
So as you can see here on this screenshot, the Hope Blade 2 in the equipment info panel, you can see that it's got the speed sharpening equipment skill on it.
Right.
これを強化したスライドに変えていただきますと、
When you upgrade that, it changes to a different weapon, and I think we have a second screenshot prepared, which we can switch to now.
ホープブレード3に強化した形になると、
We got critical lines added on there too.
ついたまま、見切りの、スキルが新たに追加されています。
So as you can see with this screenshot of the Hope Blade 3, the equipment skill speed sharpening has been retained, and we've got an additional skill called Critical Eye, which has been included with the upgraded weapon.
ですので、その、スキル自体はなくならずに、別のものがついたり強化されたりしていきながら、武器派生を、強化していくことができます。
So as you can see, the skills didn't reduce, and some can be added, and also the level of existing skills might be increased the more you upgrade the weapon within the tree.
また後半の、
Yeah, it's real
派生の
nice.
武器になるほどですね、
Really
武
nice.
器の方にもスロットが空いていて、そこにこう装飾品を入れることによって、自分好みのこうスキルビルドを楽しむことも、可能になります。
Also, in addition to these built-in equipment skills that are baked into each level of the weapon, there are, of course, decoration slots. So the further you go down the weapon tree, the more decoration slots will open up on the weapon at the higher levels, and that's going to let you create your own skill build to your own liking and combine the pre-built ones with the ones you add later using decorations.
I think that is really, really exciting. I mean, having the skills set this way means that, you know, as we mentioned earlier, that there's going to be far less instances of there being a particular weapon that is the best for, you know, multiple situations. And when you're building your sets, you know, your weapon will directly contribute to that. And also, you know, you can switch between your weapons without it, you know, neutering your armor set that you've kind of been meticulously building. So I'm really, really excited to see, one, what the community discover, and two, like how they use it. And, you know, I can't wait to see what the different swords and shields have as well.
Heck yeah,
so
dude.
That's really, really cool. And now, you know, let's move on a bit. Let's have a little chat about a few other things that we've seen in the beta and things like that. And there's one thing that kind of really stood out to Joe and I, and for anyone in the community who frequents the different Monster Hunter subreddits that are.
I want to switch gears a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about multiplayer. We did hear some feedback from players that they were a little bit confused on the different ways to get into multiplayer, and just just weren't quite sure how to play with their friends easily. So Tokuda-san, can you touch just a little bit on multiplayer and matching up with friends and how that's going to work in the full game?
Not much left. Okay.
変顔がなくなること自体は個人的には少し寂しい思いもあるんですけど、確かにかっこいい顔にしてもらえるんだったら製品版を楽しみにしますということです。次の質問になりますが、オープンベータで多くのプレイヤーからちょっとマルチプレイの仕様について、どういうふうにやればいいかわからない、つながり方わからない、この仕様についてどう使ったらいいか、ちょっと使いづらく感じた人もいたと思うんですけど、この辺について、製品版の仕様や、使い方のアドバイスを込みでアドバイスをお願いします。
はい、まず製品版では、ロビーの ID を教え合った人しか入れない、プライベートロビーという機能だったりとか、特定のサークルの人たちだけが集まれるサークルロビーのような、友達と会いやすい機能っていうのが追加されます。
So firstly, in the full game, there will be multiplayer features that weren't included in the open beta test, which I think will make it easier to get together with just the people you want to play with. So one of those will be private lobbies, which, as the name implies, they'll have a lobby ID, and only those people who you've shared the ID with can join in. We'll also see the return of the squad system, and squad lobbies will be available only to your squad members, and that's going to make it so that you can, you know, have your friends get together really easily.
Hell yeah.
あとですね、OBT ではリンクパーティーや環境リンクといった機能が、入っていたんですけれども、これらは 複数のフィールドが、ある状態で、各メンバーの環境が変化していく中で、有効に機能するようなものなので、一つのフィールドで変化の幅が少ない OBT だとちょっと分かりにくい機能に、なっていました。製品版の方では、リリース後にしかるべきタイミングで、情報を、発信していく予定になります。
On the flip side of that, there were features that were in the OBT that I think maybe didn't really, players didn't have a chance to really fully understand them, given the fact that the OBT was such a limited slice of the game. What I'm talking about is the link parties and also in particular the environmental link feature. These are designed for the full game where across multiple different maps, each of which has varying weather conditions across different phases. If you imagine getting online, you and Jono and Joe want to play together with me, and we're all in different areas and we're not synchronized at all, so choosing which monster to hunt or whatever else might be difficult. The environmental link means we can kind of settle on a state for the game to be in and have that synchronized and make our gameplay go a lot smoother. With the OBT, you only had the windward plains and a limited amount of changeable extreme weather conditions, and I think a lot of players were a bit sort of having a question mark about what the functionality of these features were, but trust me, it'll make a lot more sense when the full game comes out, and we'll provide more details on how to use those effectively when the time comes.
Fair enough.
No, I
okay.
appreciate the details. I mean, it's really cool to hear that, you'll be able to have a lot more control over the multiplayer experience you want. So if you do want to play with just your pals, you can. If you want to play with your squad, or if you want to play with anyone in the world who's also playing, you can. So it's great to know that those options are going to be there for our community. And obviously, talking about multiplayer, Monster Hunter Wilds takes the multiplayer experience in Monster Hunter to a whole new level, the biggest it's ever been, with 100-player lobbies and camps that can hold up to 16 hunters at a time, which is fantastic. The kind of interactions we're all going to be able to have and that we had in the OBT. Obviously, but with that though, there comes a lot of chatter, a lot of stickers. And if someone's being a bit cheeky, they can, spam in stickers and excitement and things like that.
True.
So for those of us that, might want a slightly more relaxed public multiplayer experience around, chat and stickers, what's the situation there going forward?
マルチプレイの設定面といえば
I don't know if I care about this as much, so to be honest, I don't really use this.
フィードバックとしてはこれだけたくさんの人数のプレイヤーが同時につながっているロビーにな
So let's go to HUD changes.
When booting up the open beta, were all the options for the different HUD display to have it bigger, to adjust it whether you're sitting at a TV or you're sitting at a desk. But even with that, I think there are additional areas where that could be improved. So what are our plans in the full game to adjust the HUD even further?
ハードの表示についてですけど、OBT 段階でもすでに
how's the HUD gonna be
テレ
improved?
ビ向けの大きさやデスク向けの大きさの設定があったりしてかなり細かく入ってたと思うんですけど、さらに製品版に向けてハードの表示のオプションを追加しようと思っているのでしょうか。
そうですね。まずオプション以前にですね、そもそもの表示の部分で、武器の、固有の表示だったりだとか、一部の要素の大きさなど、見やすさに関わる調整っていうのは、入れていって、より見やすく、しています。
Well, firstly, even before we get into the idea of options you can change, I am looking at feedback on the size of the specific weapon, unique UI elements that each weapon has. And we're going to review those and make sure that by the time the game comes out that the relative sizes of all those elements is going to make sense for everyone.
のアップデートで、オプションなどの拡充というのも、随時検討しております。
As for additional UI options, we're considering if we can add any in future post-launch updates. So stay tuned on that.
Sweet.
Nice.
All right.
Watch this space. Now, thank you so much for answering all these questions so far, Toguro-san. And, we are getting near the end of the pre-launch community update stream. So I have one small question that you may have seen amongst the community and one that Joe and I see everywhere. And, let's just between us, we'll keep it between us. Is there going to be another open beta test before launch?
こちらからの最後の質問になるんですけど、毎日のように
That's a good question. I mean, they might. I don't know.
質問なのでどうしても聞かせてほしいんですが、ここだけの話ぶっちゃけ OBT はまた次回遊べる機会があるのでしょうか。教えてください、徳田さん。
完全にこう、領土さんとかが答えるような案件だと思うんですけども、特別にお答えすると、検討自体は、しています。ですが、もし追加の OBT を実施するとしてもですね、基本的には前回の OBT を遊べなかった方だったりだとか、その追加の、項目テストが、主な目的となりますので、今日お話したような、内容っていうのは基本的に製品版とか Day1 パッチ向けの対応になっていますので、OBT には反映されない、形になります。ちょっとその点はご了承いただきたいです。
And that's the kind of question where I'm used to leaving up to Ryozo, who'd be here with us, and he could answer that kind of high-level decision. But since you've asked, I will address that. We are considering if we will bring back the open beta test, but I would need to make clear that that would purely be essentially another chance for players who missed it the first time around to get a chance to try the game again, and we might maybe be able to add a couple of additional options here or there for people to try out. It wouldn't be something where all the various detailed weapon adjustments we've discussed today would be included. Those are strictly being worked on the basis of including them in the full game, including the Day 1 patch. So again, it's something we haven't ruled out yet, is bringing back the open beta test, but please wait for the full game to come out in order to experience all the wonderful things.
So it sounds like it doesn't really make sense to do another open beta then if we're not going to be able to see the changes implemented.
We'll have to
that'll be at least some of the changes that'll be implemented in the full game.
For any news.
Yeah.
We have covered so much today. I think this has been quite a long stream already.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to discuss before we wrap things up?
Support hunters, okay.
長時間にかけていろんな詳細について教えてもらえたのですごく良かったですが、逆に徳田さんの方からジョノたちからの質問でカバーできていないポイントがあれば、この機会にどうぞ教えてください。
はい、この前のメディアプレビューツアーのインタビューでちょっと一つ、言い間違いをしたところがありますので訂正させていただきたいです。
Yeah, there's actually something, it's not so much new information, but I want to have the chance to clarify and maybe make up for a misstatement I might have made during some of the press interviews that we had about the game. So that's something I'd like to discuss now.
サポートハンターが傷を壊さないオプションがあるというふうに言ってしまったんですけど、そちらは電話には入らない形になります。
I think in at least one interview I said that there would be an option in the game where you could set it so that the support hunters who can join you via the SOS flare would not go and break wounds for you, that they'd leave that for you. And that's something that actually won't be in the game on day one.
Okay.
発売日の仕様としては、プレイヤーが傷をつけてからしばらくの間、
Yeah, the game comes out in February, so
ある程度経つとですね、集中
if there's no need to do a second beta because they're not going to see any adjustments, what's going to be the full game? No point then.
So the way it's going to work at launch is that if you inflict a wound, but you, for whatever reason, you're not really proactively breaking that wound with your own focus strike, and a certain amount of time passes, maybe a minute or more passes, and you still haven't gone for it, that's the point at which the support hunters will start to look to use a focus strike to break the wound for you.
Okay, gotcha.
サポートハンターの、キャラクターによって壊しやすいだったり壊しにくいだったり
They want you to player to like take advantage of the wounds instead of the AI support hunters. Okay.
行動特性というのはキャラクターによって異なります。
That's something that's sort of unique to each support hunter's personality, though. Each character has a slightly different approach and an AI working for them. So whether or not they're quicker on the draw with focus strikes or less so, it also applies to other features like how often they might try and mount a monster, whether they find mounting harder, whether they're busting out things like flash pods more often or less often. Those all kind of depend on the character themselves. So it's not something that's going to happen on a strict schedule, no matter what.
どのサポートハンターに来てほしいかという指定は、発売時はできないんですけど、タイプトルアップデートでは、検討しております。
So the option that I'm looking to add, perhaps in a title update after launch, is letting players specify which NPC support hunters can join them and which ones they don't want to join them. So that's how I intend to add the ability to control the frequency of that particular feature.
あと細かいことですけど、Day 1パッチだとお供とかサポートハンターが、サインを、送ると自分のところに、来てくれるようになって、ちょっと便利になってます。
Relatedly, one additional feature I wanted to confirm was when you use the signal, this sort of ping that you activate through the menus,
yeah,
the palicos and the support hunters will come to your side during a hunt. So that's just a little quality of life feature that we've added.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
Oh, that's really, really cool. And yeah, thank you for the little tidbits of information there. We really appreciate it, Takuda-san. And with that, I think we were kind of coming to the end of our pre-launch community update. So we hope you've all enjoyed it. Joe, anything you want to say before we pass over to Takuda-san and Patrick?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody out there for sharing their feedback. I know we say a lot that we are listening, and hopefully you guys feel that way after seeing all the updates here. And definitely want to take a chance to thank Takuda-san for joining us. This has been super informative, and I know you're super busy, and the team is extremely busy getting the game ready for launch. So we very much appreciate it, and I'd like to toss it over to you for any closing remarks here.
今日は非常に珍しい機会として直接いろんなお話を聞けて、徳田さんにはこの発売直前のご多忙中の時期にこれだけお時間いただいて非常に感謝しております。最後に徳田さんからユーザーへのメッセージなどあればお願いします。
はい、まずこのような直接ユーザーの皆さんに声を届ける機会を作ってくれた、ジョーとジョの、パトリック、またサポートをしてくれた皆さんに、感謝、申し上げます。
Firstly, let me take the chance to thank you guys, Jono and Joe, the community managers, as well as Patrick. It's always slightly weird to refer to yourself when you're translating, but let me go with it. Thank you for your support in setting up this opportunity today.
イギリスとアメリカ、日本と、3拠点で時差も大きい中、すごく大変な作業だと思いますが、ありがとうございました。
Yeah, we're working across 3 time zones here, so I'm in Tokuda-san, that is in Japan. Jono and Patrick are in the UK, and Joe is in the US, so it's difficult to coordinate across so many time zones, so thank you for your work on that.
また改めまして、OBT に、ご参加いただき、様々なご意見をいただきましたハンターの皆さんに、感謝申し上げます。OBT ではたくさんの声をいただいてからですね、チームの働きだったり製品のクオリティの向上というのは、本当に目覚ましいものがありまして、今もそれが続いています。ご期待いただけるってことがこんなにも力になるんだなってことを、改めて実感しています。
Just another, to repeat my previous sentiments, thank you so much to all the players who took part in the OBT. It's such a valuable opportunity for us to get your feedback and hear your voices, and we've taken that back to the team. It's become great motivation for them to keep working on the game's quality as we reach the final stages of development. And from what I've seen, they're doing great things, and there's some really great eye-opening stuff happening with the game.
Awesome.
And we're continuing to work on that. So again, thank you for the opportunity to implement your feedback in the game.
It really is a pleasure. And once again, to echo Joe, thank you to Takuda-san for your time. We know how incredibly busy yourself and the team are. Thank you, Patrick, for translating for us today. It's great to have you with us again after you joined us at Gamescom. And, from all of us here as well, thank you to you, the community, our awesome players. I mean,
all right, that's pretty much the thank yous, final closing remarks, things like that. All right, cool stuff there, guys. Really digging, how they've addressed the feedback and complaints as far as what was brought about the beta. So they're definitely addressing they're definitely addressing the issues in the beta as far as to make sure the final version is improved as far as like frame rate goes and performance, things like that on console, but also PC as well. And the fact they're trying to accommodate for people that still have like lower end hardware, essentially. They're trying to work on, better than that. We don't have the PC specs yet, so they're trying to at least work on the minimum piece requirements a bit more to make it more available to a lot more players basically on PC, which is good. So hopefully this is very promising for PC players overall, whether you got a high-end 4090 GPU or even a 2060 or maybe even lower a 10 series type GPU or whatever your hardware is using. Not only that, really good stuff as far as like some weapon balancing and adjustments and improvements there, like inside glaive, freaking sword and shield, bow, and even more. Like this looks better. They've returned some move sets or certain moves to each weapons and improved upon them, adding new moves, things like that. And the broader scope, all the weapons are going to get overall bit greater adjustments and better balancing. And that's just, up to the point of the final game. There'll be post-patch updates too. They'll probably make even more adjustments to the weapons, etc. So that'll hopefully not nerf. Hopefully don't nerf the weapons. Please don't. You already messed up by doing that already. And people complain about, Insect Glade not having a vaulting dance or vaulting move back. So now that's back. Loving how everything else is shaping up to be. Second beta doesn't really make sense then what they said, because it'll just be essentially this, I guess, the same beta we played. No new content, no new, added adjustments. That'll be in the final version of the game. So it'll only be for like people who haven't played the first beta essentially. And to me, I get that, but also it doesn't really make sense to do that if you're not going to like have a beta that at least has some improvements that are going to be the main game that we can at least see for ourselves, get hands on with, So yeah, I think we just probably shouldn't even, if that's the case, we should just don't do a second beta. Let's just wait for the game to come out and we'll play the game. Really good stuff overall. I'm trying to think what else here to touch on. The fact they're going to do a benchmark tool, hopefully, for PCers, so we can at least test out the benchmark and see if our hardware can handle it. That's good. Hopefully they'll get it out soon. I don't know how soon that'll be. Friendly fire they're addressing as well to not be as bad as it was in the beta, so that's really good there. Love that. Monsters changing areas. So they talked about this, where apparently it was happening too frequently in the beta. They're essentially toning that down for the final game because they shouldn't be changing areas as much or like wrecking people's camps or whatever as much. So yeah. And weapon skills being adjusted to where they're not stuck on equipment. They're actually going to be on a weapon and carry over as you level up that weapon too. That's a very nice touch. I actually like that better. That makes more space for build variety and just your build in general, as far as having certain skills for just your armor and specific skills for your weapon. So really, really cool there. And multiplayer is going to work how it's usually worked. There's 100-player lobbies, but 16 players in camps. You can invite your friends to the lobby. You can do squad matches, things like that. It'll be crossplay. Very good stuff there. And HUD changes, we'll have to wait and see on that. So yeah, that's pretty much just what they covered. And I'm excited for it, and I'm even more hyped for this. And I'm interested to try out probably more weapons this time around. I'm usually sticking around 7 or 8, not all 14, but I may have to just freaking mess around with the weapons I normally mess around with, which is the ranged weapons mainly, and gun lance as well too, and just lance in general. So we'll see. I'm excited. But yeah, when I put this on YouTube, let me know your thoughts as well on this. Comment below your thoughts. Does this make you excited for the game? Then you already are. Are you happy about the changes and adjustments they're making? Definitely let me hear from you. All right, that's going to be it for me on this when it comes to Monster Hunter Wilds community update, guys. So heck yeah.